Silent Pressure. Written and narrated by Cumore Vox. The transition from the roar of the storm to the muffled weight of the river was instantaneous. One moment, Elena's tires had lost their argument with the slick metal of the bridge. The next, the world was a chaotic kaleidoscope of shattering glass and freezing darkness. The car hit the water nose first. The airbags had deployed with a violent punch, leaving the cabin smelling of acrid dust and Elena's head ringing. Outside the windshield, the river was an opaque, churning wall of silt. "Okay," she whispered, her voice a fragile reed in the dark. "Okay, door." She shoved against the driver's side door. It didn't budge. The immense weight of the river, tons of pressure, held it shut as firmly as if it had been welded to the frame. Panic, cold and sharp, began to prickle at her chest. She looked down. Water was already swirling around her ankles, bubbling up through the floorboards and the vents. She reached for the window switch, a spark of hope. The dashboard lights flickered, a dying amber glow. She pressed the button. The motor whined, a strained, dying sound. The glass lowered perhaps an inch before the electronics succumbed to the water. The short circuit left her in total darkness. The water was at her waist now. It was so cold, it felt like being bitten by 1,000 tiny teeth. "Don't scream," she told herself, biting her lip until she tasted copper. Screaming wastes oxygen. She remembered a video she'd seen once. You don't wait. You don't hope for someone to see the taillights. You break the glass. She felt around the center console, her fingers trembling, until they closed around a heavy metal case flashlight she kept in the stowage bin. The water reached her chest. The car was tilting forward, the heavy engine pulling them deeper into the muck of the riverbed. She took a ragged breath, the air already feeling thin and wet. She swung the flashlight at the side window. Clang. The safety glass didn't even pit. She swung again. Harder. But the water was rising so fast now that the drag slowed her arm. The river reached her chin. She tilted her head back, pressing her nose against the upholstery of the ceiling, catching the last few inches of trapped air. The silence was the worst part, the muffled, rhythmic turning of the current against the roof. She took one final deep breath, tucked her chin, and dove into the rising interior flood. Underneath the water, the world was a blur of shadows. She felt for the corner of the window, the weakest point. She braced her feet against the passenger seat and hammered the flashlight into the glass with everything she had. On the third strike, the window didn't just break, it imploded. The pressure equalized in a violent rush. A torrent of water slammed into her, nearly knocking the air from her lungs. She struggled against the current, her clothes heavy, her fingers searching out for the jagged frame of the window. Her coat caught. She thrashed, a silent scream bubbling from her lips, her vision beginning to go gray at the edges. With a desperate, feral strength, she ripped herself out from the garment, leaving the wool behind. She kicked. Her boots felt like lead weights. She kicked until her muscles burned, following the silver trail of bubbles rising through the black. Her head broke the surface, 20 yards downstream from where the car had disappeared. The rain was still falling, but to Elena, the freezing air felt like a miracle. She gasped. Great, ragged gulps of oxygen that felt like fire in her throat. She drifted for a moment, watching the bridge lights flicker through the mist above. She was freezing, bruised, and alone in the dark. But as her fingers found a low-hanging willow branch near the bank, she knew